Welcome back to the Cat's Tail. In this video, we're going to be looking at elemental bursts and the energy you need to use them. The elemental burst is a powerful skill each character has, which provides a lot more power than an ordinary elemental skill. We can see the difference by comparing a few simple bursts. Chongyun's elemental skill deals 3 damage with a minor upside, but his burst deals a whopping 7 damage. Both skills cost 3 cryo dice, but the burst is balanced by the fact it also costs 3 energy. As another example, Collet's skill applies 3 dendro damage 1 time. However, Collet's burst applies 2 dendro 3 times over 2 turns, for a total of 6 damage with 3 element applications. Again, both skills cost 3 dendro dice, but the burst also costs 2 energy. Bursts have all sorts of different effects, but as a general rule, bursts are more powerful than other skills when you can use them effectively. However, they are balanced by their need for energy. What this means in terms of gameplay is that a character on full energy has a lot more value than a character without energy. And if you lose a character with full energy before they can burst, you lose a huge potential advantage. Equally, if you can take your opponent's character out before they can burst, then you'll gain an advantage. How can you increase your chances of your characters getting their burst off? Usually to charge up their burst, your characters have to be on field to use their skills, which makes them vulnerable. You'll have to be careful and stay aware of your opponent's damage to know whether they are at risk. A few cards can definitely help though, to provide your characters more energy. One of the most popular is Liu Su, which provides an impressive rate of 2 energy for only 1 die. The downside is that it's only for the first point of a character's energy, so you may not be able to guarantee them getting all the way to full energy to burst. Cards like Star Signs and Calx's Arts get around this problem. Although they are less efficient in terms of dice for energy, and Calx's Arts doesn't even net you energy overall, you can use these cards and burst immediately. This way you can make sure that the energy is useful straight away, and it can make the difference between a game-winning burst and a character dying without using their stored energy. However, the best way to reliably charge up your energy is still by using your character's skills. If you focus on playing too many cards instead of skills, you'll be slower to reach the point where you can burst. So in summary, bursts are powerful, so characters with a lot of energy have a lot of value. Plan your game to use your energy efficiently, and avoid letting characters with full energy die before they can burst. So, if the ideas about energy and bursts are important in every game, let's jump into a random game and see how we can apply those. We're playing here with an overload deck, with a nice straightforward game plan. We have a few cards to help us get the energy we need for our bursts. Calx's Arts, transfer energy to our active character. I haven't lost yet, to transfer energy to our character if one of our characters is defeated. And Liu Su to give energy at the start of the game if we have it in our opening hand for that first 1 point of energy to each of our characters. Here we go. So we're playing here against, actually one of the new hot decks. So quite a strong lineup. But hopefully if we can keep in mind all of our lessons, including our options for triggering our own bursts, then we can get there. Okay, we have Liu Su in our opening hand, so that's strong. And Pyron is also very strong. I'll keep the fixing. And actually, with the rest of my hand shaping quite nicely, I might even keep I Haven't Lost Yet, which can be a very strong card in the late game. So I think, on balance, this is actually a full keep. We have a lot of good options here. We'll start on Keqing here.
Let's finish this quickly.
Our Soul Electro character to get that applied. And think about charging, maybe even charging up Bennett's burst here. So opponent's general game plan is to swirl a Hydra or a Mona with Kazuha, and then Get a lot of value out of Euler. Afterwards, so if possible we want to deny the Hydro Aura, but it's not usually easy to do with the quick swap off Mona. So we'll see how it goes. If you can take down Mona in this matchup, it can make things much harder for the opponent. Okay, so opponent's likely to swap to Kazuha and end turn here. But we're just going to go ahead and execute our game plan best we can and work on from there. So we've already got the first of our energy out of our Liu Su here, which means we're effectively a whole turn faster than we'd otherwise be towards Bennett's burst. You could use it straight at the start of next turn, in fact, if we have the right dice. So our opponent will be able to swell Hydro with Kazuha, but there's no way to prevent that. So we'll just go ahead and accelerate our own game plan. Here we go. Again, we're just looking for Pyro and Electro dice. We probably want to be using both of those in this turn. We have a bit of fixing in hand, the right elements, and a few other options here too that could be powerful. Potentially, in fact, there's a decent chance of us getting a kill on at least the Mona on this turn. Okay. So, do you have the option here to use this, get +3 from our Pyro Resonance, and I think that is strong, so that is what I'm going to do. Mona is quite an important character for their deck. Don't forget to actually use that Pyro Resonance for the +3 damage. And after this, I'm probably going to be using Kexing. Do I value the ability to swap that highly? Not on this turn, I think. So let's develop the CD first to be efficient. Here we go. Okay, so let's track how much value we're getting out of our Bennett burst here. We've already got 1 extra health, and of course the 2 pyro damage. So 2 extra health and the 2 extra pyro damage we got just from using it. And we'll get much more than that over the course of the next turns. Okay. Opponent will be able to swirl Hydro. Oh, no, I suppose he won't even be on his Kazuha anymore. So opponent could freeze my Kexing here, but that wouldn't be really a problem. And he'd have to swap back. It's fine, he can swirl Hydro again, but I don't mind this. I'll get turn priority next turn. And I've still got my Bennett burst available. And critically, I do have this quick swap in hand. Quick swaps tend to be very good against freeze decks. Because you can swap off a frozen character, for example, swap to a character who would be frozen, and immediately use a skill when they are not yet frozen. Okay, so opponent's deciding whether they swap off their Kazuha here, and because Kazuha's the character with 2 energy, they're going to value keeping him alive, which makes sense. I have the turn priority here. So we can do. We didn't get the burst card for Bennett early, unfortunately. Should have been very strong, but we've already got a total of 4 damage out of the burst and 2 healing. No reason to keep any of these. Oh boy. Okay. That's one way it can start to go wrong. Well, we do have Electro Infusion on our Kaching here, so it's definitely a reasonable option, and that forces him to freeze this, so I won't be able to use my burst on this turn. But since I'll be at 7, I don't think he can kill me. There's no resonance cards in that deck. Could be a heavy strike, but that shouldn't be enough. So yes, let's just go ahead, use this. Some cards with the secret. Hopefully get something that we don't mind using to tune, or give us some fixing into the right colour. So now we've reached the full energy on Kaching. Next time Kaching can act, I'm going to want to actually use that. So there's definitely some value in maybe keeping this leave it to me. So I can swap to Kaching at a good time to do just that. Alright, let's see. Oiler's Burst here is very strong, and that's a big part of her kit. Brent doesn't really want to use his Kazuha here, although Kazuha could just use his burst just for a bit of extra damage. Let's see, I don't really mind if they freeze my Pyro Agent here. Pyro Agent has no energy. I will have 1 energy after I switch to him, I suppose. Definitely an interesting play to switch here. I could tune a lot to get this going. Push him off the Oiler. Could swirl with the Kazuha then, though that wouldn't be great. So a few options here. I always think with this burst equipment card in hand for Bennett, it might make the difference. I'm going to swap here and probably end up tuning several cards, or maybe just using my Paimon, depending on what opponent does here. He might end up swapping up his Oiler. Okay, let's see. This situation, I think, definitely have a few plays. How much do I care if he kills Bennett? Well, he gets the Gambler's Earrings going, but he's only got 2 dice. It's not very easy for him to do that. It's not really possible. Specifically, it's not really possible because Oiler is already satiated and therefore can't consume another food that would reduce the cost of a normal attack. So there's no way for him to get the 3 dice for a skill here. Okay, so in the last few turns here, first off, still going to be very important. Or rather, this is likely to be the last round. We got some decent value out of our last Bennett burst for sure. And we could just go straight ahead and get value out of the Kaching burst here. Force opponent to kill Kaching, switch to a Pyro character, then have this available. Opponent could have Mondstadt Resonance, which would allow him to take an extra turn, so we could switch to Bennett and then to Pyro Agent. Or, what other way around? Let's see. Yeah, this should be fine. Let's quickly... Yeah. Kaching has the Gambler's Earrings.
Let's finish this quickly.
So this is going to give me a few extra dice. We have plenty of ways to reduce our swaps. There wasn't really any use for using 1 fewer die at this point. So we should be able to get there now. Oh yeah, the other. I can use this to show I would have the energy to play a long game if I needed to. But of course either burst or skill works here. Critically, you know, Ola didn't get her burst out before it was too late. Kazuha didn't get any value off his burst. He didn't get to use it. Mona didn't get to use her burst. Whereas we got to trigger 2 very powerful bursts for a lot of damage. You know, while interfering with the opponent's game plan enough that they couldn't do the same. So pretty good demonstration there of how important energy is and bursts are for gaining an advantage in a match. Okay, so I'm going to use this chance to talk about elemental bursts and the importance of energy on your characters. So we're playing here in a weekly tournament against Shunher and Amo. This is a very scary deck that does a lot of AoE damage and can be quite difficult to play against.
Campaign begins.
So in this situation, we're immediately met with an opening hand that contains both Liu Su, a card which allows us to gain energy, and Treasure Hunting Sealy, a card that allows us to draw cards. And we have the option to play either of these on our first couple of turns. Now, obviously, drawing 3 cards for 1 die is a great value. And it's a very strong card. But the importance of energy and developing Liu Su early on is so massive that I'm definitely going to prioritize playing this card over the Treasure Seeking Sealy, and we will see exactly how important that is. So I've already got this 1 energy on my Xiangling.
Manifest!
At this point my opponent's just been charging up his energy on Shunher. Used his elemental skill both times, so he's used several elemental dice. He did use the toss up to get those. But I'm already thinking, okay, he probably doesn't have any more Cryo dice, he might not have any more use for elemental dice, he's probably used most of his Omni dice. And so, here's the last 2 dice. Definitely likely that he might just be playing a send-off, playing a Vanarana to carry them forward. And therefore, taxing his dice is pretty useful. He wants to stay on Shunher to burst next turn, so I feel pretty good about developing a summon here that will trigger an overload reaction and knock off Shunher. This is his character with energy, this is his most important character right now. However, in this case he does have a very strong play that I didn't expect. He has both a change shift to reduce the die cost of switching characters and 2 Animo dice, and is able to trigger a swirl here, doing a total of 7 damage to my characters. So that already puts me in a slightly scary situation where my characters are already down a lot of health when all of his characters were just on full a second ago. Now in this situation, we have to again think about the question, okay, who is my most important character? Well, in this situation it's got to be Xiangling, because Xiangling has the 2 energy, Xiangling has the ability to burst, and while often on this turn I'd want to be using Nahida, my rolls here are definitely encouraging me to go in the direction of planning to use Xiangling's burst. So I'll lean into that. I've got lots of Pyro dice available for that strategy. So I'm okay switching to Xiangling here without using any foods to protect her, because I know opponent's deck is unlikely to be able to deal 4 damage here. Now opponent does have a quick switch and uses this opportunity with Sucrose to push me off Xiangling and reduce her health almost to kill her. So we have a challenging situation here, challenging decision to make. I could just, fodder one of my cards, put a couple of my cards I don't need maybe, and start to deal damage to Sucrose, get some stacks going, which is often how you want to play it, stack with the Nahida. But if I do that, opponent's going to be able to swirl onto my Xiangling and kill my character with 2 energy before I get any value. Especially with all the AoE in opponent's deck and Xiangling not having any aura on her, it's a very good idea to switch to Xiangling as long as I can stop her from dying. Now opponent might not have any elemental dice yet, I'd expect it maybe just to be using a normal attack. But even if it's only saving the 1 damage from a normal attack, saving the character with the energy, making sure I can trigger this burst before this character dies, is going to be the play that wins me the game. Here we go. Our opponent isn't able to kill Xiangling through the Lotus Flower Crisp, so I can get Xiangling's burst off. And opponent
Do your master's bidding.
Shenhe's burst. And I'm left with one energy. I can use a pizza. Who am I going to use a pizza on? Am I going to use it on my low health character? No, against a deck with lots of AoE, I'm going to use it on my character with high health. My character who is most important to keep alive. So Xiangling will now die at the end of turn. Should I be worried? No. Xiangling's already used all of her energy. Happy to lose this character, especially seeing as they would likely die to AoE unavoidably. So suddenly, with that sequence of plays, I'm in a much better position. It's also worth noting, specifically for this matchup, I do run 2 send-offs in this deck tournament, because removing that burst is very valuable. Here I can start to trigger some reactions. I have this 10 health Nahida thanks to my use of food, and it's going to be very hard for my opponent's AoE focus deck to deal the 10 damage here before I take out their key characters.
Animal hypostasis emulation.
And while opponents, they've charged up the energy on the Sucrose, they weren't able to get value out of that burst. It was never convenient for them to use it until now. And while it lasted 3 turns, it's not going to be not going to be able to get its full value, since the game will be over before then.
Stand clear.
While this has happened, I've been able to charge up my Nahida's burst. And the Nahida's burst is in a position here where it can just take out either of their characters. So at this point, it's a pretty reasonable stroll to the finish line. And actually my Xiangling's burst here has got a lot of value already, getting off, helping kill the other characters, and allowing me here to guarantee lethal on Sucrose before opponent gets a chance to even use potentially a protected food or other class. So this burst and the swaps to Xiangling and Suret were critical for winning this game. In this example, we've reached a point in the game where neither player has been able to use effectively any of the bursts on their characters. So the game will likely come down to which player is able to first make good use out of their bursts. So, going first, I'm going to next Nahida, who after I use my skill is going to end up with 2 energy. And this plays around some play such as Star Signs or Calix's Arts into opponent's burst. Be quite unfortunate, and has the base case that it will probably take at least some damage on my Nahida. The opponent here is just to use their skill without playing any other cards on my Nahida, charging up for his burst. But this is likely a mistake from opponents, since at least them having a character with 3 energy, the most important character currently, in easy range of being killed by my burst. And so, my burst is
Temple of
that.
Wisdom.
So I know we likely have
Yay, I did it.
Nahida here.
Oh wait, no, I
A response
didn't.
planned in hand to use my Xiangling's burst, as we will indeed see. Opponent does have the Pyro Resonance card, given plus 3 damage on this elemental reaction, but this was expected. I got my burst done first, so I got some advantage there. And here, I made this play since I'm now able to activate the second burst for my character. So I've activated 2 bursts now, and my opponent hasn't activated 1. Opponent is charging up, and now he's got full energy on both his characters. But that's obviously less ideal compared to having, you know, those bursts actually having been used. So I got a lot of damage there that my opponent wasn't able to get.
Right.
And
idea.
again, his
Wrong
King is
time.
dying before using the burst. And I'm getting to go first after charging up my Raiden Shogun. So we have a game here which ends with me having used 3 bursts and the opponent having used 0. Which goes some way to explaining how it ends up looking quite so one-sided, with me still having 9 health of my characters as the game ends, plus 3 damage from the Xiangling burst that wasn't even needed there.